As the south of France begins its busy tourist season, some 800 firefighters in the sky and on the ground have been battling a large wildfire around the city of Marseille. 110 people have been injured, including 9 firefighters and 22 police officers. Some 400 people had to be evacuated from their homes. Many others were advised to stay indoors unless instructed to evacuate, so as to leave roads clear for emergency vehicles. On Tuesday, the smoke was so thick in the air, Marseille airport was forced to close. It resumed flights today, but with significant disruption. City authorities say the fire is decreasing, but is not yet under full control. At its peak, it was spreading at a rate of 1.2 kilometers per minute, thanks to a combination of wind, dense dried vegetation, and steep slopes.
Firefighters are still fighting the fire, hand to hand. You can imagine that some people lost everything yesterday. It's clearly regressing, but there could be flare-ups. Of course, we're hoping for more forgiving weather, but we remain extremely vigilant.
Similar scenes are playing out across Europe, with wildfires in multiple regions of Spain, Greece and Serbia. Meanwhile, Syria is asking the EU for help in tackling a wildfire, which has been raging for 6 days, scorching over 14,000 hectares. Thousands of people have had to be evacuated from the mountainous Latakia region along the Mediterranean coast, where dense forests have been left tinder dry after months of high temperatures and the worst drought for decades. Even more pressure on Syria's fledgling leadership as it works to stabilise a country deeply scarred by 13 years of civil war.
Oh my gosh, y'all look.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh my
God.
Across the Atlantic, after parts of neighbouring state Texas were deluged over the weekend,
Oh my god.
flash floods in the New Mexico village of Ruidoso were powerful enough to wash whole homes away.
A wall of flood, it came and it started going through, and that's when I started recording, because it got so wild so quickly. And that's when I saw the house coming down the river, and unfortunately that house is one of my best friend's houses here.
Emergency services performed 30 swift-boat rescues, but a father and his 7- and 4-year-old children died after being swept away in the fast-moving water.
You know, we got a lot of rain. We had a over 20-foot rise in the river gauge. Just a big rain that just hit us all of a sudden. You know, we were tracking it all day. It didn't look like it was going to be this massive, but it was. It hit hard. It hit fast. We did breach all of our bridges. We did lose some more homes. We have some folks that are missing. We're looking for them right now.
There are questions now for authorities as to why they didn't evacuate this village. In Asia, flooding has also blighted parts of Nepal, where at least 9 people have been killed and dozens are missing after houses, cars and the country's main bridge to China were washed away. While scientists are often reluctant to directly blame climate change for incidents like these, there is a general consensus that these kinds of extreme weather events are more likely to occur as global temperatures continue to rise. And joining us to discuss this week's dramatic weather is Anna Beswick, a policy fellow at the Grantham Research Institute at the London School of Economics, working on climate adaptation and resilience. Anna, thank you for speaking with us. Starting in Europe first, we've already seen record heat waves in June. Are we in for a punishing summer across the continent?
The type of extreme heat that we've seen already this month is the kind of weather that we expect to see increase and intensify as climate continues to change. I can't tell you exactly what the forecast is going to be like this summer, but I can tell you that this kind of extreme weather event is something that we expect to see more of in future.
And in terms of the wildfires we're seeing, including those in Syria, drought is a key factor in their rapid spread. Is this a consequence of climate change?
Many things can influence drought risk, but climate change is a key factor that is increasing the likelihood of drought risk around the world.
And do European nations need to become more resilient if these events are going to be more common in future?
Yes, we do. We need to see an increase in resilience in Europe and globally. We know at the moment that we're not prepared and able to cope with the kind of extreme heat that we're now experiencing on a more regular basis. So we need to act to increase our resilience and be able to respond.
And what does increasing resilience look like? Do we need, more firefighting planes, more air conditioning? What is it exactly?
We need to make sure that we have proper heat early warning systems in place so that people know when extreme high temperatures are likely to happen all around the world and are able to prepare and respond to those. And, in the UK and in European countries, we're maybe getting better at that. But what we also need to do is to take action to reduce the chance of heat risk affecting people as severely as it is at the moment. So there are lots of practical things that can be done.
And turning to the flash floods in Texas and New Mexico, are these examples of sudden dramatic weather events linked to climate change? Can we say that?
It's just so heartbreaking and tragic to see the events that have played out in Texas. It's really, really sad that the impact of climate change, including increased risk of flooding, is something that we are going to have to live with more and more. I can't comment around that specific event or around how climate change has interacted with the circumstances there, and it wouldn't be right to do so at the moment. But we do know that these kind of extreme flooding events are more and more likely to happen.
And there have been questions over a lack of investment in local alert systems, and the Trump administration's now cuts to the National Weather Service and FEMA, the federal agency responsible for disaster relief. Do governments generally need to get better at adapting to changing weather patterns and take the threat seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. More needs to happen. We need to see more action from government to face up to these risks and do something about them proactively, rather than just waiting and responding when a crisis happens. Because we know there are clear social and economic benefits to investing in things like early warning systems, making sure that our buildings are able to cope with heat risk, putting in place climate smart agriculture. Doing that enables us to cope better when extreme weather events happen and as climate change happens. So we need to see much more proactive action happening.
And for anyone watching this around the world, weather disasters, be they floods, fires or hurricanes, are on the rise and getting more severe, it seems. Should resilience start at home? Do we need to be more prepared in our own lives? And what would you advise?
Local communities do hold the key to, particularly when we think about heat risk. Communities all around the world actually know how they are affected by heat in their places and in their communities. And then we need to ensure that the finance that is available for communities across the global south to adapt to climate change is actually reaching the people that need it the most, and that they're able to act and take the actions they need to keep their homes and places safe.
And finally, looking ahead, we're already nearing 1.5 degrees of warming. Is there still a chance we can mitigate the worst impacts of climate change in future?
Absolutely. We need to do both. So we need to increase our efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, because that will limit the amount of change that we have to face up to, but we can't turn the clock back. We are living with the results of past and present day emissions, so our climate will continue to change. So we need to adapt, but we need to limit that amount of change by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and increasing our commitment to doing that.
Anna Beswick from the London School of Economics, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.